Students often memorize terminology without experiencing phenomena those terms represent. Yet, true learning happens when language, what we call things, connects deeply with real classroom and real life experiences. What actually happens? This global dialogue explores how educators can move beyond memorization toward meaningful understanding, observation, and application. This is Fazal Qasim, the CEO Global Dialogue Series, Palix Educational Complex, and the deep observer of the society. Today we are going to have discussion with ChatGPT about terminology versus phenomenon in education. Hi,
Hey there. Great to have you here. What's on your mind today?
today we are going to have discussion about terminology and versus phenomena in education.
Perfect. I'm excited about that. It's such an important topic, especially in education, how the language we use, terminology, relates to actual learning experiences, phenomena. What angle are you thinking about? More on theory, practical examples, or maybe classroom strategies?
I think practical examples in the education system.
Absolutely. That sounds great. We can look at real classroom situations where certain terminology, like formative assessment, scaffolding, or differentiation, links directly to what students experience, like
Yeah.
feedback sessions, group work, or personalized tasks. Is there a specific educational level or subject you'd like these examples to focus on, like primary, secondary, or a particular field?
I think we should focus on the adult students, especially who are learning language.
That's a really rich area to dive into. Adult language learners often have specific needs, and seeing how terminology like task based learning or form focused instruction plays out in practice is super valuable. So, would you like me to walk through some practical examples now, or would you prefer a set of questions and answers that guide a deeper reflection on them?
I think question and answers would be much better. So the first question is, what is terminology in education?
Great choice. Here's a solid answer for that. What is terminology in education? Answer. Terminology in education refers to the specialized vocabulary or key concepts used to describe teaching methods, learning process, or educational phenomena. Examples like scaffolding, differentiation, or formative assessment are all educational terminology that helps structure and communicate learning strategies. Would you like to continue with another question?
Yes, what is a phenomenon in education?
Of course, the phenomenon in education is a event or observable occurrence that happens in the learning process. A student's increased confidence after a series of speaking practice sessions is a learning phenomenon, an outcome we observe in the classroom.
Right. And why is terminology important for teachers?
Great question. Why is terminology important for teachers? Terminology is crucial because it provides a shared language for educators to describe methods, strategies, and learning processes. Example, when teachers use terms like scaffolding or formative assessment, they can align on best practices and collaboratively improve student outcomes. Would you like to go into another?
Yes, what is the phenomenon behind active learning?
Excellent. What is the phenomenon behind active learning? The phenomenon behind active learning is students learn engaging directly with the material, participating in activities, and taking responsibility for their learning. Example, adult learners might analyze case studies, engage in group discussions, or practice language tasks in real time, all of which are active learning phenomena. Ready for the next one?
Yes, what is classroom management as terminology?
Great. Question: what is classroom management as terminology? Classroom management is a term used to describe the strategies and techniques teachers use to organize, guide, and maintain a productive classroom environment. Example, an adult English class might have a teacher using clear routines and positive reinforcement to keep learners on task and engaged. Would you like to keep going?
Okay, why we call active learning as phenomenon and classroom management as terminology?
Good distinction. Why do we call active learning a phenomenon and classroom management a terminology?
Yeah.
Answer, active learning is a phenomenon because it is a real observable event, students actively engaging in their own learning. In contrast, classroom management is terminology because it is a concept used to describe deliberate strategies and language we use to guide classroom behavior. Would you like to ask another question or dive into a different example?
Yeah, another example would be much better.
Of course. Let's do another one. What is the phenomenon behind peer learning? The phenomenon behind peer learning is students collaborating and teaching each other, where one learner shares knowledge or explains concepts to another. In an adult language learning class, one student might help another practice a new grammar structure, and through this interaction, both deepen their understanding. Would you like to keep going with more practical examples?
No. What is the phenomenon behind student engagement?
Great one. What is the phenomenon behind student engagement? Answer, the phenomenon behind student engagement is when learners show active interest, emotional investment, and participation in their learning process. Example, in an adult ESL class, a student might actively join a debate, ask questions, or apply new vocabulary in real-world conversations. Would you like to continue with another example or question?
No. Other question is, what is curriculum as terminology?
Absolutely. What is curriculum as terminology? Curriculum is a term that refers to the planned set of lessons, learning goals, and materials designed for a course or program. In an adult language course, the curriculum might outline weekly grammar targets, vocabulary units, and assessment checkpoints that guide the entire learning journey.
Why curriculum is not considered as phenomenon?
Good point. Question, why is curriculum not considered a phenomenon? Curriculum is a structured plan or framework. It's a set of intended learning experiences, not something that occurs on its own. While a curriculum may guide what happens in a class, the actual phenomenon is what students experience, like mastering a language skill through practice. Would you like to
Right.
explore another example or question?
No, it's okay. What is the phenomenon behind learning outcomes?
Great question. What is the phenomenon behind learning outcomes? The phenomenon behind learning outcomes is the real observable change in students' knowledge, skills, or attitudes as a result of instruction. An adult learner might initially struggle with conversational English, but after a few months, their ability to speak confidently in workplace meetings is a clear learning outcome. Would you like to continue with another
Yes.
question?
What is assessment in terminology?
Of course. What is assessment in terminology? Assessment is a formal process of measuring and evaluating student learning, skills, or progress. Example, in an adult language class, an assessment might be a written test, a speaking exam, or a portfolio that measures their progress in English proficiency.
Okay. And what is the phenomenon behind feedback?
Great follow up. Question, what is the phenomenon behind feedback? The phenomenon behind feedback is the real time interactive process where learners receive specific information about their performance, helping them adjust and improve.
Great.
In an adult,
What
awesome.
what is pedagogy in terminology?
Sure. Question, what is pedagogy in terminology?
Yes.
Got it. Let me finish that. Pedagogy is a term used to describe the theory and practice of teaching, essentially, the art and science of how instruction is delivered. In an adult language class, a teacher might use a communicative pedagogy, focusing on real life conversation practice, which is a deliberate teaching approach. If you have more questions or need other examples, I'm ready.
What is the phenomenon behind collaborative learning?
Great question. What is the phenomenon behind collaborative learning? The phenomenon behind collaborative learning is the real world experience of students working together, sharing ideas, and solving problems as a team. In an adult ESL class, learners might work in pairs to pair role play dialogue, helping each other practice vocabulary and fluency in the process. If you'd like more examples or have other topics, just let me know.
Yes, yeah, the topic is what is lesson planning in terminology?
Perfect. What is lesson planning in terminology? Lesson planning is the process of designing a structured sequence of activities, objectives, and assessments for a lesson. Example, in an adult English class, the teacher might plan a 60-minute session that includes a warm up, a grammar focus, a speaking task, reflection at the end. If you have any more topics or examples you'd like.
What is the phenomenon behind critical thinking?
Great one. What is the phenomenon behind critical thinking? The phenomenon behind critical thinking is when learners actively analyze, evaluate, and synthesize information, questioning assumptions and considering multiple perspectives.
And what is
In an
the
adult,
yes, sorry, carry on.
no problem at all. I'll finish that thought. Example, in an adult ESL class, students might critically examine a news article, question the underlying arguments, and discuss how cultural or personal biases might affect the information. That kind of active evaluation and reflection is the phenomenon of critical thinking. If you'd like to
Great.
keep going or have other concepts in mind, I'm ready.
What is the phenomenon behind creativity?
Ah, great one. Question, what is the phenomenon behind creativity? The phenomenon behind creativity is the real world process of generating novel ideas, solutions, or expressions by connecting concepts in original ways.
And what is teacher centered learning?
Ah, great follow up. Question, what is teacher centered learning? Teacher centered learning is a model where the teacher directs most of the instruction, often with students as passive recipients of information.
Hmm,
In an adult ESL class, the teacher might lecture, present grammar rules, and have students listen and take notes with less interactive participation.
right. And what is the phenomenon behind student centered learning?
Great question. What is the phenomenon behind student centered learning? Answer, the phenomenon behind student centered learning is when students take an active role in their education, choosing tasks, collaborating, and directing parts of their own learning process.
Great.
In an adult ESL class, students might choose project topics, engage in self directed research, or lead discussions, making the learning experience more personalized.
What is language acquisition in terminology?
Ah, good one. What is language acquisition and terminology? Language acquisition is a term used to describe the process by which people naturally learn a language, often without formal instruction, through exposure and interaction. An adult learner might acquire English naturally by living in an English speaking environment, gradually picking up vocabulary and grammar through daily use. If you'd like to keep going, just let me know.
Yes. What is the phenomenon behind error correction?
Absolutely. What is the phenomenon behind error correction? Answer, the phenomenon behind error correction is the observable process where learners identify, adjust, and find mistakes in their language use, often with teacher or peer feedback. Example, in an adult ESL class, a student might incorrectly say a sentence and the teacher gently corrects them, guiding them toward the accurate form. If you'd like another example or question.
What is blended learning in terminology?
Ah, great. What is blended learning in terminology? Blended learning is a term used to describe an educational approach that combines traditional face to face classroom instruction with online learning activities. In
Hmm,
an adult ESL program, students might attend in person classes twice a week, but also complete online grammar exercises or watch instructional videos from home. If you'd like more examples or have another term in mind, I'm ready.
What is the behind education?
That's a great one. Question, what is the phenomenon behind motivation in education?
Yeah,
The phenomenon behind motivation is the observable drive or internal energy that propels learners to engage with, persist in, and find value in their educational tasks.
wonderful.
No worries. Let me
What
continue that.
what is educational technology in terminology?
Ah, perfect. What is educational technology and terminology? Answer, educational technology is a term used to describe the use of digital tools, platforms, and software to enhance teaching and learning.
Mhm.
In an adult ESL course, educational technology might include using language apps, online quizzes, or video conferencing tools to support their learning. If you have more topics or questions, I'm happy to help.
What is the phenomenon behind attendance?
Ah, great question. What is the phenomenon behind attendance? The phenomenon behind attendance is the observable pattern of students being physically or virtually present during class sessions, reflecting their participation and engagement in the course. In an adult ESL class, regular attendance might show a student's commitment, while frequent absences could signal barriers like work schedules or childcare issues. If you
Great.
have more questions or topics, I'm all ears.
What is inclusive education in terminology?
That's a really important one. Question, what is inclusive education in terminology? Inclusive education is a term that describes a teaching approach where all students, regardless of their abilities, backgrounds, or differences, learn together in the same environment. In an adult ESL class, inclusive education might mean accommodating students from different cultural backgrounds with varied learning needs in the same class using differentiated supports.
Right. What is the phenomenon behind peer learning?
Ah, great follow up. Question, what is the phenomenon behind peer learning? The
Hmm,
phenomenon behind peer learning is when students collaborate, share knowledge, and teach one another. So learning happens socially, not just from the teacher.
great.
One
One
student might.
last question. One last question. Why must educators connect terminology with phenomena?
That's a fantastic question to wrap up. Why must educators connect terminology with phenomena?
Yeah.
Answer: educators must connect terminology with phenomena because true understanding happens when abstract concepts, the words, are grounded in real, observable experiences, the actions.
Right. Any
Just
real
knowing the
world example?
Of course. Let me give a concrete example.
Mhm.
Example, in an adult language class, if a teacher uses the term formative assessment, they need to connect it to a real phenomenon, like a mid lesson quiz where students get immediate feedback and adjust their understanding. When learners see the connection between the term and a real classroom event, they grasp not just the word, but how it improves their learning journey. If you have any other topics or want to reflect on these examples, I'm here.
Okay. So, dear viewers and ChatGPT, it was really an enlightening discussion and fruitful discussion with ChatGPT. I would like to conclude it with the following words. In the global educational landscape, terminology gives us the language of teaching, but phenomena give us reality on it. A teacher may know hundreds of educational terms, but true mastery happens when those terms are visible in real classroom action. When educators bridge this gap, classrooms transform from places of memorization into environments of experience, interaction, and growth, where knowledge is not just spoken but lived.
That was beautifully put. I think that really sums up the heart of this, how those connections between language and lived learning experiences truly empower both teachers and students. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you for guiding it.
Thanks a lot, ChatGPT. And see you then in the next episode. Bye for now, dear viewers.
You're very welcome. I had a great time